Welcome to He Said Red Said, where Red is Vicki Fitch, serial entrepreneur, direct sales expert, business coach, and provider of Fitch slabs. It's also where Red is always right. To introduce this week's He, here's Vicki Fitch.
He said Red said. He said Red said.
Hey everybody, Vicki Fitch here, your direct sales expert and the host of Vicki Fitch Live, A Fresh Perspective. But tonight, you guys know on Monday night is He Said, Red Said, where Red is always right. Now, I have an amazing guest today. I know I always say that, but I'm always right? Red is always right. So if you guys haven't seen the broadcasts that have been going out, you haven't seen the information going out, I am going to introduce my guest, but I decided that I was going to let a little video clip tell you a little bit about him. But I will tell you, we're on episode 52, which technically makes it like our 1 year anniversary, so that makes him kind of a special guest. So we're going to try and treat him nice. We're going to try and make sure we don't scare him away, but we want to give him a really big round of applause. His name is Mr. Bryan Kramer. So Bryan, I'm so excited to have you here. We have so much to talk about and such a tiny little time because I know you are traveling and you have really given us some bonus time here, but we are going to go ahead and play a quick video to introduce you. And I think Rob's got that ready.
But this is what it's about, right? Like taking a moment where you think you're gonna fail and just going for it.
Early to bed, early to rise, work like hell and advertise.
Being a marketer, that touches my heart.
Touches your heart.
You are what you share. Everything that you share is what people perceive of you.
Okay, so if that wasn't intimidating to any of you guys, I mean, this guy's like a super rock star. So, Bryan, welcome to He Said, Red Said. I am so glad to actually finally meet you, like technically kind of in person, and, to deliver this interview for people because, again, you're a complete rock star. I mean, look at top 20 most influential content marketers of 2016, TED Talk speaker, top 50 social CEOs of Twitter, the Zen master of digital marketing. I mean, should I go on? Those are some pretty powerful names that people call you. So, Bryan, welcome to the broadcast. How are you?
Thank you. God, I feel like I'm at my own funeral. I'm doing all right.
That's not good. Okay, now I'm gonna have to change my approach a little if somehow I just delivered a eulogy when I was trying to get the crowd excited. So I gotta rethink my delivery method.
That's good. I'd rather attend my own, I guess.
Yeah, well, I guess so. I guess that means that you're still viable. I don't know. I'm really not. I think that would take us off into a rabbit hole.
Right.
That one out, right? First of all, I want to say for those of you guys who have downloaded this podcast, I really appreciate you guys doing that, whether it's on iTunes, Stitcher, Spreaker, wherever you guys are downloading from. But I would love for you guys to go to either YouTube or my Facebook page at Vicki Fitch 1, facebook.com/Vicki Fitch 1, so you can actually see the amazing Bryan Kramer. You can see the video clip that we just played, and I hope that you guys will connect with this, with Bryan all together. We're going to give you his contact information later. But again, thank you to those of you that are downloading the podcast. I appreciate each and every one of you. All right. So as we look at this, I usually ask a quick question in the beginning, just a little icebreaker question. And I've gotten a chance to watch some of your interviews recently. And I just wondered, what is either your favorite interviewer or interviewee? Now, I know it'll be me after tonight, but other than that, we can go ahead and move on to someone else.
Oh, that's a good question. My favorite person that I've ever interviewed is actually somebody who was on the video clip you just watched, which was Ted Turner. That was by far the most thrilling, emotional and kept me on my toes interview. And it was pretty fascinating the way that it rolled out, the way that it happened, because he's known for walking off stage or walking off an interview after 2 minutes. He's actually never been kept in an interview. No, sorry, it was 4 minutes. He's never been kept in an interview for longer than 4 minutes. And so what I did is I hired his son. I flew back to Atlanta. I hired his son to do the video capture. And when he came into the room, he gave his son a big hug, and he was willing to spend a little more time there. So I guess you could say I bought his love or his time. But then he lasted for 17 minutes. And at the end of 17 minutes, he took off. He said, "Okay, that's it. You're done," and stood up and walked out just like everyone said he would. And after he left, everyone in the studio started clapping. And his son walked over and he said, "This is the longest I've ever seen my dad stay on stage." So it was a really cool interview, really fun.
Well, that is powerful right there. I mean, when you can make, an icon, somehow you can connect with him, which I think it's a really great way for us to, segue into some other things we're going to talk about. But when you can really connect with an icon to a point where he stays in your audience for more than 4 times longer than the average, that is really powerful. I think I would just put that. That would probably be my new, that would be one of the things I would announce. But that's really fantastic, Bryan. So, again, I appreciate, I know that we have to cut our interview to an hour, and I thank you. I know you're traveling, and I really do thank you so much. And the fact that you're in a hotel room, his Wi-Fi, if he freezes up a little, guys, I think the audio still will stay intact. So just stay put. Continue watching, and we'll make sure that we do the best we can. But he's going to drop some knowledge bombs on you. He's going to share some insight on some different things, and we'll try and introduce him to the Fitch slap, but we won't slap him. We're going to be really nice tonight. So, okay. So we do really quick. Rob, why don't you pop up? We have a group where we believe in connecting, right? And so I have a Rockstar group, which is my Facebook group. And so each week we have a Rockstar of the Week. And so we moved our Rockstar of the Week to next week because we don't have enough time today. But if you guys are interested in building a community and connecting with people, I'd love for you to go to VickiFitch.com/freebies. That's where you can click the link, join our Entrepreneurial Rockstars group. It's a group of people that want to give at least as much as they get. And we'd love to give you a cameo appearance on either Vicki Fitch Live, A Fresh Perspective, or He Said, Red Said, to help you to build your business and your brand and help you connect with people. So now that we got that out of the way, a lot of people during this week, we've been advertising you out for the last couple of weeks. We have kind of a strong social media presence in delivering, letting people know who the guests are. And people are asking, what is a TED Talk? Now, I do know what it is, but I'd love for you to explain to them what a TED Talk is and why it's so important, how it's so relevant that we want to use that on a social media card.
Yeah, it's, a TED Talk is I don't know exactly how long it's been around. I know that I can remember about maybe 10 to 15 years of TED Talks, maybe 10 years. And there's different levels of TED. So there's TED, there's TEDx, and then I think there's even a couple other different like TED style talks that people give. The TED style talks are the kind of talks that conferences or people have been trying to take and run like a TED. So what a TED is it's between approximately 12 and 17 minutes, I think is the highest you can go. And most of the time it's around, I'd say 12 to 15 minutes. You'll find on most TED Talks. And if you go to TED.com, you'll see a mix of TEDx and TED. TEDx is a locally organized TED conference, and it basically allows the city to put on a TED-like conference. It is, I think that kind of TED is run by the city, so it's not fully TED. And then the TED they do once a year. I was in the actual TED speaker side, and so they put out over 50 different suggestions or invites. I submitted all my information, and then they brought it down to about, I think, 25 roughly, and then I went on and I did an interview with Juliet Blake, who's a producer of 100-Foot Journey with Steven Spielberg and Oprah Winfrey. And so she was pretty powerful in the movie industry and was president of the Jim Henson Company and had all this stuff. So basically scared the crap out of me. So I got on, gave her my best and my idea, and then I got a call back, I think 3 days later, saying that I got picked as one of the 12 TED speakers. So it was a rigorous, exciting process. And once I got the call, I was in the car, I almost hit all kinds of things. I pulled over to the side of the road and played it safe. And then from that point forward, it was really like the hard work was just begun. I mean, that's when the real work started. So, it was really hard to then start to build your whole TED Talk. Your 12 minutes is just all kinds of work. So that's about the process.
Well, and watching your TED Talk, first of all, I like the way that you actually really were vulnerable, and you got, you shared some things that were going on in your life and some things that were, challenging for you and different pieces. And I love that you were sharing, and we'll talk about that vulnerability piece in a minute, but you talked about what your TED Talk was about is you started sharing about something you had done that took the world by storm. And so instead of, telling people what that is, I'd like you to share that, because it'll also be a transition into some of the other things, the whole 80 million impressions. And I mean, those statistics were staggering. And then what you actually did there was even, just as impressive, actually. So why don't you share with everybody what that was that you got 80 million impressions on, and how it changed your life and changed the trajectory of what you were doing?
Yeah. So so the TED Talk was really all about sharing, which is actually the TED Talk happened before I wrote my second book, Shareology. And so the whole thing was about how sharing can reimagine your future, was the title of the TED Talk. And everybody, at the end of the TED Talk, I had asked them to do exactly what you're talking about. But the idea behind it was to show everyone how sharing can change your life and others' lives. And I gave examples on how it changed my life, which is what you're talking about, and how being vulnerable, which, Brené Brown really talks about now a lot, about how being vulnerable can change the way that people perceive you, and how success, I think, can be made. So eventually that TED Talk escalated into then how we could share from that theater and doing a first, because TED does not allow mobile phones to be connected to the internet in a TED theater. You're not allowed to have any tweeting or any Facebooking or anything like that.
Wow, I had no idea. Yeah,
they've never allowed it, which is why if you see a TED Talk, you'll never see tweets happening live from the theater. It's not something that they encourage. Whether somebody sneaks one in here or there, I don't know, but for the most part, that happens. And so I had convinced them basically with my TED Talk that we should do that, and we should have everyone share, and we should have them talk about how they can inspire other people to do different things, like helping somebody across the street, shaking their hand when they're having a bad day, or giving them a hug, or all the way through to solving world peace. I mean, it could be anything. You get to decide. You share what you think you could do that might change the world, and they shared all kinds of things. So yeah, within I think it was 6 hours, it grew to it was about 21 million impressions. Over the course of the next week or two, it then grew into probably around 80. But during that day, it was roughly 21, 22 million impressions, and it was kind of cool, or even more cool, that not only did they share, but it trended internationally on Twitter, and we were able to see where all the sharing was happening. So we could actually geolocate every single tweet around the world. We could see where people were sharing from, and I think it hit around 70 plus countries. Those 70 plus countries resulted in sharing that was so emotionally charged, and there was happy thoughts, and really kind of personal thoughts. One person came through and said they wanted to solve sex trafficking in Africa. Another person came through and said, I want to push the button on the microwave and just automatically get a pizza that comes out.
I know. I wrote that down. I love that one.
Yeah. So, I mean, all kinds of stuff. But really what it did was it proved the hypothesis that if you were to take the same kind of methodology and you were to do that and you did not have a TED theater, you could still do exactly what I did with the right ingredients. And you could really still affect change globally. And what I mean by that is we were able to actually track all the data globally and see that there were, around 100 different people that were not only sharing, but they were the impetus behind the growth that happened in each country or each continent. What that means is that if they have the ability to spread something into their own community, then we could take those 100 and duplicate that same response every single time with the right message and the right people. So what that means is that influence matters, and the influence of building the right community, build the right outcome.
Well, and I think that one of the cool parts of that is that you start looking at it, and there's like a patient zero on each country, right? I mean, each country had the first person that heard the message that shared it out. And when you start looking at the exponential things that happen, it becomes really amazing. And that, just like we're talking about the Facebook group, like my Entrepreneurial Rock Stars, or I'm sure you have a Facebook group, or, our tribe, the people that are on our email list, the people that we're continuing to build relationships with, the people that are watching this broadcast or have downloaded the podcast, we have that opportunity. So we get to choose whether or not we're going to continue to build and share out that positivity, or we're going to, start to stifle it. And I love that, I love that this whole thing. And, and also there was a piece about, that you were talking about no electronics at the dinner table. Right. And that's something I've been a real stickler for at my own family. And that you had talked about that different piece of, how people can connect with their own families and how they can connect with different things. And, I love also because I think when you went into this TED Talk, you were referencing something previous to that kind of drove into this, which is you were talking about your H to H, which I'm going to let you talk about with your book, the human to human contact. And you said that everybody started taking pictures of what you had up on the board at a previous thing that you had done, which is what started that thing. And that's where that 80 million impressions was, that all of a sudden it was, the wildfire that you started to catch the vision, because you were struggling at that time with some stuff going on with your own business and feeling like you were really able to explore and be what you wanted to be, that you were so successful that you were feeling a little humdrum. Did I get that? I mean, I know I poorly worded that, but was that accurate, at least in generalities?
Oh yeah. No, yeah, I think you hit it on the head. It was the way that I was feeling, the way that business had taken a turn, and right then and there is when social media really came on the scene. I was able to take advantage of how content could help grow my thought leadership and also others. I learned through highlighting other people that, such as what you're doing right now, that highlighting others on social or in content can make the world a difference with how you get to connect with others. Because at the end of the day, we're all doing this to connect. Everyone wants to connect. Businesses want to connect with businesses. People want to connect with people. Humans want to connect with humans. So it's kind of redundant. I guess people are humans, but I think at the end of the day, it is what we want to do, and that's why I saw this as a viable way of getting myself out of the funk that you're talking about. Basically, I owned an agency that was very successful, but I didn't want to be in the agency itself at the time. And so, it was a really hard challenge. But once I started to see how content and creativity could come together in helping to build thought leadership, not only just around myself, but around other people, like I said, that's what changed the course of what I was facing and to now where I'm at today. So I attribute a lot of that to the creation of highlighting others.
Well, and you know, you've done it obviously very well in your interview style and different things. And by the way, I wanted to say hi. I see Melanie Weiser in the house. I see Stacy Lynn Harp. I see Ikena Finch. You know, you guys are all some real rock stars. And by the way, the people behind the scenes, if you guys don't know, you know, Mr. Rob Hicks, Sam Gonzalez, they are always here making my job so easy. All I have to do is show up and entertain and make sure my guest shows up, you know, but they just are really make my life easy. So I wanted to just give a quick shout out and say I really do appreciate them. And I appreciate if you guys would hit that little share button and make sure you share this out. I know that there's a lot of people watching that aren't actually plugged in, but I would love to see you guys here. I'd love to give you a shout out too. And I really, really want to thank you, Bryan, for being here and giving these people an opportunity to hear from your heart and find out who you are and how to connect on this, you know, this H to H, this human to human level, and how, because people are, you know, there's a lot of things, you know, buzzwords about transparency and about this and about that, but I think that you embody them. And I think that's one of the reasons that I was really drawn to having you on the show, is because, you know, I wear my heart on my sleeve. I'm kind of a little, you know, I'm a little bit of a bleeding heart. You know, I love people. I really love them, right? They can break my heart and they can make my heart sore because I watch them succeed. And I love that. I just love, you know, contributing to other people's success. And I've seen that about you too. And just watching how, you know, even just in the interviews that you've done, just the way you treat people, it's just it's dignified and it's really authentic. Kind of, I always say, you know, we kind of like pretend nobody else is here. We're just kind of sitting on the couch, chit chatting, getting to know each other, and that's the way I kind of feel like you are. As well.
I cannot tell you how much I appreciate that. Thank you so much. That's what I think everybody you know, wants from anyone they're watching, and so it's high praise. Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
My pleasure. So, you know, telling people what about the book? You know, your book, you wrote a book, not business to business, not, you know, so anyway, I'll let you kind of share that piece. What was the catalyst for it? And did you actually expect this to become a bestseller? I mean, was that on your, I mean, I know we all are hoping when we write a book that we hit some levels, but did you put a strategy together, or did it just hit people between the eyes so much that it just took off?
For you're talking about for H to H, for that
Yes.
book. For H to H, it was no strategy, no plan, no idea that it was going to work. The reason that it was H to H is a surprise baby. I didn't even know that I was writing it until it kind of, as you call it, I guess. What is it? Fitch slapped?
Fitch slapped you, yeah.
Yeah. So it H to H slapped me, and so I got a chance to really. I was in the middle of another book, which actually ended up becoming my second book.
Okay,
And
that's
so
Shareology.
Shareology ended up becoming my second book. It was supposed to be my first book. What happened is I was on stage at where was I? I can't remember. Bloomberg. Thank you. Courtney's sitting here. So I was on stage. Yes.
Hi, Courtney. Pleasure to have you. Thank you so much.
They're saying hi. They just said hi. She just waved back. And so I was on stage with a friend of mine, Ted Rubin, was in the audience, and he took a picture, and everyone else also took a picture of the screen that was behind me, and it was, there's no B2B or B2C. It's H to H, human to human. The power of both my personal brand and the work that I put into it the previous year, combined with the timing of that message of human to human and what mattered most today, given the technological, automated social media that was happening to all of us, combined with the timing of just being on stage at the right place, right time, it went viral. So over the next 48 hours, it got over 85 million impressions. It was translated into over at least 15 languages, and we counted at least 2,000 bloggers blogging or writing about it somewhere, and so that's when I was receiving so many emails and pieces of communication saying, "What does this mean?" Because it's pretty straightforward, but it's also like, okay, how do we break this down and what do we do with it? And so the good thing is that I had written blogs for the previous 2 years on this exact topic. And the other good thing is that I had a wonderful spouse who was in business with me and a great writer who was helping me to pull this together into a book. So we were able to basically pull this together in over 4 days and publish it very quickly. And that's when it, I think, trended and sold in the top 4 Amazon categories of business and entrepreneurship and social media and all that. That was how it came to be. It was not wasn't planned. It wasn't, it wasn't something that I had set my heart out to. I did know that I wanted to write a book. I didn't know it was going to be that one.
Well, and that's what makes it so exceptional, right? That's what says, I always tell people one of my taglines in my regular, consulting business is dream it, believe it, achieve it. That we need to believe in ourselves. And if we have a dream and we got a book, we have something inside us that needs to come out, then we need to deliver it without worrying about whether it's going to be a bestseller or whether it's going to be this. But of course, we want to, if we have the opportunity and we know what to do, we want to certainly, make our best effort. But the fact is that we need to do what's in our heart. We've got to share that with the world. And the fact that your, that little tug at your heart exploded, and I heard you mention my dear friend, Ted Rubin. Everybody knows I adore Ted Rubin. Ted is the only person that I almost had to kick off the show because he couldn't stay in the G-rated zone. It's so funny. I actually said to him on there, Ted, do you really want to be the first person I kick off? He said, Red said, and he starts cracking up because, I love Ted Rubin. Everybody knows Ted and I adore him. So, but having Ted in the crowd, Ted will, I'm sure Ted was a great catalyst in sharing that information out because he's so passionate about it, whatever he shares. Right. And so that's the kind of people that resonate with you because that's what you pull in. That's what you connect with is people say, oh, I like you. And really quick, before you say something, Rob, we have a graphic that we made up that I'd love for people to see that we made for Bryan about his H to H. And so let's pull that up really quick. So there's Bryan. There is no B2B or B2C. It's human to human, and it's hashtag H2H. And that is so cool because it actually became the 2015 buzzword from what I understand. Isn't that right?
2015 and 2016.
Oh, so it's multi-year? You actually had the same buzzword for multi-year?
Yeah, it's crazy. Absolutely crazy. And not only that, I mean, it's the gift that it's given me is beyond that. I mean, I've traveled, gosh, I don't even know how many countries. I've traveled to so many countries and places and cities, and I've met more people and done so much in the last 2.5 years since that came out. I can't even thank that book more. It's been fantastic.
So it really was a catalyst in changing your life. Were you doing a lot of speaking and stuff or any of that before then? I know you were a very successful businessman, but were you doing outside speaking or was this the change?
So no, not like I am now. I wasn't speaking like I am now, but I was speaking before. It turned into speaking at a level of about 55 to 60, keynotes a year. That was I wasn't anywhere near that. I would say I was probably between 5 and 10 at the time. Most of where I was doing my speaking was in the marketing space, and I'm a journalism speech communications major. So I've given speeches my whole life. I'm very comfortable giving speeches. That's not something that was foreign to me until after I got out of college. I actually hit a little road bump. I forgot how to be not nervous in front of audiences, and for some like 7 to 10 years I couldn't get my mojo back. And it wasn't until probably about, I don't know how long ago, but a couple years ago, a light switch went on, and all of a sudden I was able to give presentations and speeches again. So it's definitely tough for anybody who's watching or thinking, how do I get up on stage and how do I make that happen, and what am I going to talk about and how am I going to come through? Part of that is being really, 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 really prepared, because the more prepared you are, the more fun you're going to have on stage, and understanding your information, and even more so, really believe in your information. If you don't believe in it, if you don't totally appreciate what it is that you're talking about yourself, then nobody in the audience is going to either. And so you really have to love what you're talking about, and that's going to change everything. From that point forward, it doesn't matter if you screw up, mess up, or do anything. You just need to love what you're talking about and love what you're doing. Practice. And if you get those two things, you're going to kill it.
Right. I completely agree. And I think that's one of the things about live streaming, about this opportunity. Here we are on Facebook Live, right? Is that people get to that know, like, and trust factor is just exponentially driven to these people where they can say, hey, you don't need to, you're not looking up your information in a book, right? That you're answering questions, you're delivering value and information based on what's in your head. So that's where, when you're talking about, you got to know your information, you got to know what it is that you're sharing. And when you're passionate about it and when it's part of who you are, people can see it and it resonates with you. And, as a speaker myself, like, I know that's how we engage the audience. When we give of ourselves and we're totally engaged in what the value is, what the outcome is, people respond and they really connect. And so it sounds like, I wish I had been in the room in that original, I could have experienced that, that amazement, that delivered this book. And you were in the middle, you said, of the Shareology book. So why don't you also tell people about that book and how you think that those two pieces have affected people? Why did it affect them so much? What is it that struck that chord with people?
Yeah. Well, Shareology ended up becoming the little big brother to H2H. It's actually surprisingly outperformed the sales for H2H. My H2H book has sold, I don't know, somewhere between 12 and 15,000. And Shareology is now well over 30,000 books sold and is in China and soon potentially Japan and other places. And so, from a standpoint of if you look at the success of the two books, it's Shareology became, a much better book because of H2H. It really helped to support the methodology behind it. My H2H book really is only 80 pages. It's a quick read. I mean, if I'm talking about being human and being straightforward and stopping, speaking plain language and help other people understand exactly what you're talking about, then to write a long book on speaking clear is not right. So I had to write a much shorter book on the H2H piece. But on Shareology, I really dug into the trenches on that one. I did over 250 interviews of people of all walks of life, from people at the front desk at certain companies, psychologists, sociologists, all the way up to VPs and CMOs and CEOs at companies, and really broke down the art and science of sharing and how you can make something potentially even go viral if you follow the process and the formula I have in that book. So that was really kind of my scientific side coming out. H2H was much more of my leadership side, if you will.
Well, and that's really awesome too, that it shows that the diversity that you have and that you have these two pieces, you can deliver. Again, you wrote a book in 4 days that, was a bestseller. That's kind of a big deal. And of course, I believe in the woman behind the man. I heard you say that your wife is an excellent writer and that she was there. And so that, again, it's that human to human contact. When we connect with somebody, our spouse, a partner, people that we're involved with, that it makes a difference, because the energy that is driven from the human to human contact, from us just, catching each other's vibe and catching that spirit and that enthusiasm from other people. And that is what we as influencers and leaders need to continue to contribute back to people, and to show them, how we can, how everybody makes a difference. And that's one of the things I loved when I was listening to the TEDx talk about, those people that were sharing out in that room, those people that spread it out to, I'm just making this up, but Zimbabwe, I know Australia was on your list. I know there was, all these countries, but the people that were sharing it out weren't afraid to hit the share button. They weren't afraid to, everybody might not like, Bryan Kramer. They might not like this H2H. It didn't matter. They hit the share button, and then the people that it resonates with hit the share button, and people continued to, I always say, stop being afraid of sharing content. People they'll sift through it themselves and say, this interests me and this doesn't. But don't be afraid to be inspired, because you will inspire someone else. And that's, again, I know I'm doing a little fangirl thing here, but that's what I felt like, is that you are inspiring people to inspire people, and it continues to spread like wildfire.
Yeah, I thank you. Man, I need to come on your show more often. You're constantly making me feel good about myself. So I think that we're no one without our community.
Right.
We're no one without the connections with people that we have. And also the more that we meet people in person, the more those relationships come alive online. And so there's as much as people want to share, my message, which I'm totally thankful for. I also know that that you have the ability now to take that relationship farther.
Mm-hmm.
It shouldn't stop there. It starts there.
Mm-hmm.
And as you're starting to build your relationships, as if you are going to create something that gains a like or a comment or a tweet, man, that's where it all begins.
Mm-hmm. Well, and yes, that's exactly it. And sparking, right? It's a spark. It's sparking a conversation, sparking, it's getting people connected. And if we can do that in an effective way and give somebody something to talk about that's viable and important, because let's face it, I mean, we could all talk about politics and that could go viral. It's not necessarily going to benefit anyone, but it gives us, it gives people an opportunity to either spread rumors or anger or frustration or whatever. But when you can give people something to contribute to others that is valuable, then way it changes them, the looks on their faces. Like I remember seeing, and for those of you guys again that have downloaded this podcast, I know that you can't see how adorable Bryan is and how vulnerable and connected he is, but I will put in the show notes the link to his TEDx talk. And when you get this chance to see some of the people in the audience, when you start sharing those statistics and sharing that information, they're like, their face, they get it, and they start to see, hey, like I made a difference. It's not just the guy next to me. I made a difference by hitting that share button. I made a difference by being here today. I made a difference. And that's, everybody calls me kind of Pollyanna-ish, right? Because I really like to see the beauty in people and the beauty in things that are going on. And that's a beautiful thing. And I realize that I'm fangirling on you a little bit because I really do want you to know, I think people don't share enough what they really enjoy about a speaker or an author. And so, that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, everyone has their own story. Everyone is unique, and everyone has a vulnerable moment, if not one more, to share. And the hardest thing in the world is to actually figure out what vulnerable moment propelled your success, or what vulnerable moment will propel your success if you haven't figured it out by now. And I think that the more that you're able to dig in and find out what that is, and then figure out a way to tell that story, you will nail or find an ability to, achieve the kind of success that you're looking for. Everyone's looking for a different kind of success, but it's going to happen when you find that vulnerable moment, I think. And that's what I did. And that's what helped, because the rest of it, the skill sets and the things that, you need to do your job, that's rote. That's something you can learn. That's unbelievable stuff that you should know. Those are the hard skills that we have to know, whether it's you're a coder by day, or you're a writer, or you're a certain type of marketer, or an engineer. That's the skill set level. But then when you want to tell that story, that takes an extra ability to be able to dig into what I was talking about before, with really that vulnerable human moment that really makes it possible for people to understand you and people that identify with you, and to know exactly how they're going to help support you, because you're making it clear to them what it takes to achieve success together.
Yeah. And you know what? That's exactly it. And so, and we have some really, really great questions that are coming up in the chat box. I'm going to ask you in just a sec. We're going to take a quick 2 seconds to share about our sponsors. Archon Mounts is a fantastic sponsor. They're always making sure that the live streaming community has what they need. You guys know I'm actually using my TW broadcaster right now. I have my iPad here so I can read some of your comments. And by the way, welcome, Karen. Appreciate you being here. Tim McVeigh in the house. We appreciate you guys. And if you guys are interested in getting your own gear and making sure that you can I think Rob put that up on the screen. You guys can save 20% if you go to archon.com and you use the code FitchSlap. So make sure that you guys check that out. That is the gear I use each and every day. So if you want to continue to connect with an audience in a live streaming format, that is the place I would go, because I've tried a bunch of gear and this is the stuff that really works. So I appreciate you guys being here. And then, I have some other things we're going to go to, and I am very aware of the time. I know we only have 20 minutes left, but I am working hard to get these in, but I want to have you answer some of these questions. Stacy asked earlier, do you know what the proportion is for men to women that are purchasing your books?
Do I know the proportion of the people that are,
men and women, versus women
that are buying my books? I'm looking at Courtney because I'm not sure if we know the proportion of the books of men versus women who are buying my books. I think I'm totally guessing. I think it's 50-50 based upon my readership and who comments and who writes. I mean, I do think that I think it's 50-50.
Okay.
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
But it's a total guess. I don't know if I.
We'll accept total guesses because we're all about that here. And so we don't know for sure, but that's okay. So you're thinking that your audience is kind of a 50-50 split.
Well, yeah, my social audience is 50-50, so that's why I say that.
Okay. And, Karen Campbell, I don't know if you want to address this part. She wants to know how you can transition likes and shares to money, basically converting it to cash and, in the social media outlet, in the social media platforms. Do you have a formula, or besides the fact that obviously we need to connect with them and, provide value, do you have a formula or something, the advice that you'd like to give?
Yes, I do. Before I do that, I do also want to give a shout out to Tim McVeigh as well, because you are absolutely right. His products rock. I use them as well, and I just think the world of that company. So I wanted to follow up on that and say, man, you have a great sponsor there. Okay, best thing, I have a lot of different ways that we can come at this. The first thing I'll say is that when you are sharing, if you're at all familiar with photography, even if you're an amateur photographer, to really look at photography, at the photographs that actually look interesting. The photographs that look interesting to you are always when a photograph is taken off center. That means that every single photo that you look at, if you like photography, you're going to notice that something is off to the left or off to the right. And it's different every single time. That same theory applies to sharing. So when you share something in what is called in photography language, the rule of thirds, you're going to share different things every single time. So you can share a third about yourself, a third about other people, and a third about tips, tricks, or news within your industry. If you were to take your sharing and divide it up into those three things, you're not only going to give everybody a little bit about how you think in those three areas, but you're also going to become more three-dimensional. Now, the other thing that you need to understand is that I'm getting a thumbs up, so maybe that was a good. Okay, good. Yeah. So I think now I'm right because I've been validated. So,
I love it. I love it.
So I love that. So, and then the other thing is that there are 6 different types of personality traits for 6 different types of sharers. And not everybody shares the same way. Not everybody is a sharer. Everybody operates in a different methodology. So if you think about the different type of people that you know, if you're asking them to share something and they don't feel like that's within their realm of who they are, it's because that's the kind of person that they are. But that doesn't mean they can't help in some way. It's just that everyone has a different way of sharing, right? And so there's a category. I actually broke all 6 down inside of Shareology. I can tell you what all 6 are if you wanted to know it now, or we can share the link later. But if you break those 6 down and you understand which kind you are, you're now going to fall within the best area of sharing that really jives with your heart, right? You're going to feel like you're sharing the right way. And you can even explain it to someone like, hey, I'm not an altruist, which is one of the categories. I'm a connector. I like to be a connector. So I'll connect you, no problem. But if you want me to share, as an altruist, that's not who I am. And I do that every time I get hired. They ask me to do something that's not within my genre. I'll tell them, like, this is the kind of sharer I am. So that is really important to understand what kind of sharer you are and how you're going to share within that category. Does that make sense?
It does, and I love to hear that. I'm gonna we'll ask these other questions, and if we can, I would love to go into that detail, and definitely, the link, and I will definitely put it in the show notes as well, because I think that we're all are looking for opportunities to have our content shared, like, and to explore what is it that that I'm missing. There's some people, like you said, that won't share at all. There's other people that have reasons they don't want to share. There's and like you said, there's these six mysterious types of people. I've got to learn about them.
I'll say it real quick.
Okay,
It's
go ahead.
Altruist, early adopter, connector, careerist, boomerang, and selective. And
You have to repeat those because they didn't catch those.
There we go. In fact, let me give you a URL. Is that all right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Go to Bryan Kramer, Bryan with a Y, Kramer with a K, .com / personal brand quiz, and that will allow you to take a quiz, and within 30 seconds, you'll know exactly which one you are. I've had over 10,000 people take it, and only 3 people argued with me that I was wrong. So I think my stats are pretty high on that.
I love that. Okay, they're the 3 people that argued they were wrong. I love it. It's just totally cracking me up.
There's always 3.
There's always 3. And are you one of the 3? You want to know, right? People, are you one of the 3? But, that gives us, and thank you so much, Karen, for putting that in, bryankramer.com / personal brand quiz. For those of you guys who have downloaded the podcast, again, Bryan with a Y, BRYANKRAMER.com / personal brand quiz. Check that out. And definitely tweet Bryan the results. If you want to argue with him, go ahead and tweet him. No.
Yeah. No, and there's a way to do it. So once you get your results, there's a little button you can click and tell me I'm wrong. If you want to be the 4th person, that's all right.
Right? That's somebody's going to hashtag it. I want to be the 4th. I love it. So, Bryan, and let's see, I think there were some other questions. If you guys pulled those, and I know we are streaming across multiple platforms. If we haven't given you a shout out yet, you might need to switch over to the Vicki Fitch 1 page, because if you're inside some of the other groups and stuff, we might not be able to read your comments live on the air. So if you guys go over to facebook.com / Vicki Fitch 1 and the Wirecast, the one that's shared out by Wirecast, that's the one that's live that we're actually receiving the comments from. So again, we really do appreciate you guys being here. We appreciate those of you who have downloaded the podcast later. And thank you, Karen. I appreciate that. And make sure, like I said, if you guys have some questions, pop them in. We only have 12 minutes left, so I have to pack in some stuff. But if you guys pop your questions in, if I missed them, put them down here at the bottom, and I will try and get to those. So, Bryan, we definitely have got to know a little bit more about you. Now, you have a company called Pure Matter. You also have bryankramer.com. You have this lovely Silicon Valley, company that you've been running, and then you expanded that out to do more of your speaking and your books and these things. So tell us what you want them to know about those things, and how they can connect with you as a speaker if they want to, absorb the Bryan-isms, at a closer contact.
The best way to connect with me is at bryankramer.com. And in fact, my new website just went live today. So you'll be getting a fresh glimpse of a fresh look at. I haven't actually officially announced it on Facebook yet. So that now your audience here live is getting the first.
Say it right here. Somebody put that in the chat box. bryankramer.com.
But if you go to bryankramer.com, you'll get a good look at that, and that's the best way to reach me for sure. And it connects out to all 4 of our companies, or 3 of our companies. So yeah, the bryankramer.com is my speaking and influencer work that I do, and then there's Pure Matter, which is our marketing consulting firm that we've had now for 16 years. We work with large enterprise companies, mid-sized companies on a lot of social strategy and influencer marketing. And then we've got a book publishing company for authors who want to become authors, or want to sustain their authorship with a new book. And then we.
Whoops, Bryan, we lost. Oh, there you go. Can you repeat that? Because we lost you for 1 second.
Oh, that was the best content I've ever given in my
right. No, you said
you
the people, your new book content, that your new company that does.
Yeah. Wow. I don't really feel like repeating it again. So,
Bryan,
I'm kidding.
the Fitch slap comes out when you
See,
act like
there
that.
it is. I wanted to feel it. I wanted to see how that went. No, the I don't know where I ended up, but Substantium is the book publishing company, and hthuniversity.com is my online
Oh, we lost him
to
again.
help.
Oh, there he is.
Am I gone? hthuniversity.com.
Okay, hthuniversity.com. So, I actually, I love hearing that because I have 2 new books coming out. So maybe I might have to check out your company. We might have to check that out and see if I can intertwine myself a little bit more with the amazing Bryan Kramer. Is he frozen again?
No, I'm here.
Okay. He was just trying to trick me. He's trying to do it.
No, I'm listening intently.
I like that. That's a good thing. I like that. Women like that when men listen intently to us because it happens so rarely.
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah, exactly. That we're used to. We're totally used to that.
No, I like to be a good listener.
And so we the links for those, if you want to say those out loud really quick, and we will definitely get them.
You know what? Just go to bryankramer.com and all the links are there.
Okay.
You'll get HH University, you'll get Pure Matter and Substantium. They're all there.
Excellent. So the things that you've gone on, things that have gone on in your life, the inner struggles you've gone on, you have taken all of those things and created, you've taken the obstacles and you used them as what I call stepping stones, where you continue to go higher and higher and start looking. I always say that it's that bird's eye perspective that allows a business coach or a mentor or someone that is delivering, speaking engagements. It gives us an opportunity to remember where we've been and to share from, a higher perspective, not because we're better, but a higher perspective because now we have a different vantage point. And so I wonder if you might share with somebody that's struggling right now, that feels like they're in the valley, that's feeling like, I can't do it, or I'm not good enough. I have a book coming out called Evict the Bully in Your Head, and it's all about I'm not good enough, smart enough, strong enough. People are telling me this, and I start telling myself. I have nurtured this little baby that is now this big, 300-pound gorilla bully in my head that is constantly telling me I can't do it. And I wonder if you could just give some encouraging words to people who are struggling.
Yeah, you are your own worst critic, and you're going to jeopardize every inch of what you could achieve. I think more so than anyone else will. You're also your.
Whoops, we lost you again. Also, you're
your greatest advocate.
There you go. Okay.
And you can help people achieve, and you can help yourself achieve way more than anyone else can. Only you can help you. And the way to do that, I think, is finishing what you start. A lot of people will start a project or say, how do I write a book? How do I get on stage? How do I do this? How do I do that? When I first started talking, I would talk to a wall if somebody invited me to talk to the wall. If they said, I need you to talk inside of this bathroom over here to my friends about how marketing can help them, I would go in the bathroom and we would have a great conversation. I would have talked to anybody until I could realize, a real stage and a real, dream. And so you really have to know that it's going to be a lot of hard work. You're going to be your own worst critic, but you can't stop. You have to see it through until you really realize that, and you will. There's a tipping point that will happen, and if you keep doing it, it's going to happen. You're going to have some down days, and you're going to be like, you got to get out there again tomorrow. You got to do it again and again and again and again and again until something hits. And once it hits, it's going to be explosive, and you're going to be met with the same exact challenges on another level. You're going to be going through it again and again and again and again.
But as soon as you believe in yourself, right? And that's the thing, is that when you can find, and Jim Rohn, I love Jim Rohn, who is a modern day philosopher, right? And Jim always used to say, that, there's so much more power in let's go do it than you go do it, bringing people alongside. And that's what you talk about with all of this stuff, Shareology and H to H, is that it's about connection. It's about not going it alone. You're not alone. I mean, we're not alone. We have people that are here, like live streamers. There's people like you that are speaking, that are, infusing people with inspiration and motivation and encouragement each and every day. That, you said, I think you were doing 52 speaking engagements, or did you say like 352? It's that you're constantly delivering value. You're giving that. And then you've got books. You've got, are you also live streaming as well? I have to admit, I have not seen you like on Periscope or Facebook Live. Are you live streaming as well?
Yeah. So I love Periscope, but I don't do it as much as I want to. I read in your bio, you do it 2 times a day, and your staff here on the video said they're surprised that it's just 2 times. So I guess you do it quite a bit, but I would like to do that more if I could. I love live streaming. I'm a big fan of it, but I don't do it as much because I'm just going from one thing to the next. I don't have enough time, I think, to fit that in as much as I really want to, and so that's going to be one of my 2017 goals. What I'm really passionate about is doing what you're doing right now. I have an HA chat that I've had every Monday at noon Pacific Standard Time. We've had the HA chat for 2 years, and we've trended on Twitter, I think every time over the last 2 years. So it's been I really love that show. I love podcasting. Podcasting is a great way to get out there and meet people more so than anybody. And it's recorded and people get to listen to it. Just like you said before, it's a conversation between 2 people. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of different media. I mean, gosh, if you have problems finding a media that can help support your business, then you're not looking hard enough, because
right.
Plenty of options now. We're not talking about the Mad Men days when it was a billboard, radio, and TV options. I mean, right. We way more than 3 options now. So I go to some kind of media and start creating some content.
And that's fantastic advice. Absolutely. Because I think that's what people need, is that they need to practice. They need to get out there. And yes, I do live stream twice a day. And I don't know why they think that they're wondering if that's all. But the reason we do what we do, right, is because we want to give content. But there is no more time. If you're not, and this is a tip for you guys, if you're not doing something, if you are not monetizing that, if you are not driving traffic off of your website to, build an actual client with, and not just leaving them hanging in the social media space, then you're wasting your time. You have to monetize it, and I've built a tremendous business, even when Periscope, started by itself, I built a tremendous business just from that. But I've been really blessed to, be able to connect with people. And also connect with people like you that are truly amazing and giving a gift here to people just by your presence and your information and your content. And we have one of your favorite quotes, at least your assistant shared it with me. I'm sure it must be, right? I would love for you to pop that quote up really quick, Rob, because again, we try and do that. So early to bed, early to rise. And I modified it a little bit. Work like heck and advertise. And that was Ted Turner's quote, is actually from your video as well. Yeah. And, he used a different word instead of heck, but, I just G-rated it for, I think he would have forgiven me for that. So we love to do that. And we also will be pulling some content out of here, some of the quotes that you said today, and creating some content. We'll be tweeting it out. We'll be posting it on Facebook, tagging you in it as well, because we really, really do appreciate, all of that you've delivered here today. And I'm so sorry we have to cut it short, because I had so many more questions for you, but you have been so gracious with your time. I hope that I would love for you to consider being on Vicki Fitch Live, my other podcast, A Fresh Perspective, or the Vic the Bully in Your Head, because when I heard your portion that you talked about, where you went through a time of struggling, I think that a lot of my audience experiences that, whether they go through a midlife crisis of, a career that they didn't really like, and now they're feeling stuck in it and that kind of stuff. I'd love for you to consider, being a guest on one of those podcasts, so we can dive into a little bit more stuff. So
more than happy to. Let's schedule it. I would love to do that.
Awesome. Nothing like putting you on the spot, but
no, that's great. I love it. I'm more than happy to be transparent. And if anything that I have that I've gone through that helps other people, it's great. And I love learning from others as well. So let me know when, and let's make it happen.
I will do that. I'll message your assistant the days I have open. And again, I really do, really appreciate that. Real quick, we might go like 1 minute over, but if you can pop up the Hunt for He graphic for me really quick. You guys, if you know He Said, Red Said from the original days, it is a fun, witty, bantery type thing. And I've converted it a little bit into an interview style right now while I'm on the Hunt for He. So if you know somebody who's witty, who understands business and can go head to head with Red, I would love for you guys to have them apply at HeSaidRedSaid.com. Click the link that says Hunt for He. I would love for you guys to consider that. We'll be doing some interviews next month, and you guys have to be able to take a Fitch slap, and you have to understand my style. So I would love for you guys to consider that. And next week I have on He Said, Red Said, I have Mr. Wagner dos Santos, and he has opened up his new agency. Super excited about having him here. He's a brand strategist, a speaker. He's an amazing guy. So I hope that you guys will register for that as well. And remember that Vicki Fitch Live, A Fresh Perspective this week, I have Dr. Adam Nally. We call him Doc Muscles in the house. He's a keto diet expert. He's a podcaster. He's a doctor. He's hilarious. And he will help you with fitness, weight loss goals, and a lot of information you might not even know is coming. So, we also call him the Ketonian King. So, Bryan, is there any last words that you would like to share with people before we put your social media card up? It has all of your social media handles. It's got your website on there. Is there anything you'd like to share with the audience as a parting gift, let's call it?
Sure. And I'll save you a shortcut to having to read the book. One of the things I talk about is this: what you share is equivalent to how people will perceive you. And what I mean by that is you are what you share. And so if you want people to perceive you in a different way, share something different. You can change the trajectory of how people perceive you. That doesn't mean that you need to be inauthentic or not share the things that are close to your heart. But what you should share and could change the trajectory, say that 10 times, of how people perceive you. So I would just wanted to offer that up.
I love that. I really do. And that will be one of the tweetables, just so you know, that we will be putting out a picture of you that says you are what you share. So, that again, because that's impactful. That's something that shows people that they need to make good choices, and that they need, because when you're sharing things that are ripping other people down, it does tell people, it says something about you, and we have to be really careful about that. Right. And then also, we have, again, first of all, as long as I have the information, you'll be receiving a gift from us. We always like to treat our guests like royalty here. So you'll be receiving something in the mail from us. And we just really, again, I appreciate your time, and thank your wife for me as well, that she, I know that we're invading on some time you guys have, and I really, really do appreciate that. So I'm going to put up your social media card really quick and let you guys take a screenshot of this. Make sure that you write these things down. The show notes are going to include those things, but for those of you who are downloading on the podcast, remember BryanKramer.com, BryanKramer.com. Get your information there. All of his social media handles are here. They'll also be in the show notes. I hope that you guys will take an opportunity to check out the show and actually see it live. Again, Bryan is a stellar guest. He's full of compassion and kindness when you watch his different videos and stuff like that. And so I'm going to introduce myself for those of you guys who might not know me. Guys, hi, my name is Vicki Fitch. I'm a direct sales expert. I've been in the industry 20 years, top 10 sales and recruiting internationally for more than a decade. I've also built and sold 4 companies. I'm an author, a speaker, and an international business consultant, helping you get outside what I call the 5,000 to turn your passion into your profits. If you'd like a free consultation with me, you can go to VickiFitch.com/20. That's VICKI, F as in Frank, ITCH.com/20. And I'd love to assist you with your business. And we're just thanking Bryan for being here. And until next time, guys, I want to remind you, like I always do, to dream it, believe it, and achieve it. Ciao.